Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect. My name is Pete and today we complete the first set of conversations with our squad mates after we just finished our mission on Therum and recruited Liara to our team. Now before we get busy talking, there are a few more Codex entries scattered around the ship, the first one next to Navigator Presley, who we could talk to, but he has nothing new to say. In the corridor leading towards the cockpit there are two more Codex entries, then there's one inside the cockpit itself, and then we can get a few lines from Joker.
I prefer gold to silver, for my medal. I figured you'd recommend me for one since I pulled your boots out of the fire.
And I have a strange feeling that this was not the last time you have to do so.
If we present you with a medal, you'll end up sitting on stage listening to politicians make speeches for a couple of hours. Fun.
That's a good point. They'd probably make me shave, too. I spent the last 7 weeks working on this baby. No medal's worth that. So, Commander, why don't you tell me why you're really here?
Actually, that was all we came for. The rest of the dialogue options is stuff we have heard already.
I have to go.
Alright, see ya.
Now we have visited every point of interest on the top deck of the Normandy. Time to go downstairs and meet the rest of the crew. Just like with Joker, we will only explore dialogue options that are new, so things don't get repetitive. And first off, we head into the med bay of Dr. Chakwas, although we don't want to chat with her, but with the person in the back room, which would be Liara.
Commander, are you coming to check up on me?
Well, you went through a lot. Better safe than sorry, I guess.
You look much better. How are you feeling?
Dr. Chakwas assures me I am going to be fine. I was impressed with her knowledge of Asari physiology.
Yes, we have quite the talented staff on board.
You're in good hands. Dr. Chakwas knows what she's doing.
I never properly thanked you for saving me from the Geth, Commander. If you hadn't shown up...
Now, after all, that was more or less the whole point of our mission.
I'm just glad we got there in time.
So am I. I know you took a chance bringing me aboard this ship. I have seen the way your crew looks at me. They do not trust me. But I am not like Benezia. I will do whatever I can to help you stop Saren. I promise.
And we are thankful for that, although I have a feeling this could get harder than we think.
Don't worry, Liara. I trust you. I know you won't let me down.
It means a lot to hear you say that, Commander. Thank you.
Well, in exchange you could tell us a bit about yourself.
Tell me about yourself, Liara.
Me? I am afraid I am not very interesting, Commander. I spend most of my time on remote digs, unearthing mundane items buried in long-forgotten Prothean ruins.
That sounds like the absolute opposite of exciting work to me.
Sounds dangerous. And lonely.
Sometimes I would run afoul of indigenous life forms or stumble across a small band of mercenaries or privateers, but I was always careful. Until the Geth followed me to Artemis Tau, I never found myself in any situation my biotics could not handle. As for the solitude, well, that is one aspect that most appealed to me. Sometimes I just need to get away from other people.
And why is that? People aren't so bad.
You don't like other people?
I suppose it comes from being a matriarch's daughter. People expected me to follow in Benezia's footsteps. They wanted me to become a leader of our people. Matriarchs guide their followers into the future. They seek the truth of what is yet to come. Maybe that's why I became so interested in the secrets of the past. It sounds so foolish when I say it out loud. It sounds like I became an archaeologist simply to spite Benezia.
Well, sounds pretty normal to me. A kid rebelling against her mother. Nothing wrong with that.
All children rebel against their parents. It's a natural part of growing up.
Aha, you share the wisdom of the matriarch, Shepard. That is exactly what Benezia said when I told her of my decision. But there was more to it than that. I felt drawn to the past. The Protheans were these wondrous, mysterious figures. I wanted to know everything about them. That is why I find you so fascinating. You were marked by the beacon on Eden Prime. You were touched by working Prothean technology.
Ooh, hear that? We're fascinating. Well, thank you.
Sounds like you want to dissect me in a lab somewhere.
What? No, I did not mean to insinuate. I never meant to offend you, Shepard. I only meant that you would be an interesting specimen for an in-depth study. No, that's even worse.
Yeah, alright, let's not tease her anymore. After all, Liara has had a rough day.
Calm down, Liara. I was only joking.
Joking? Oh, by the goddess, how could I be so dense? You must think I am a complete and utter fool. Now you know why I prefer to spend my time in the field with data disks and computers. I always seem to say something embarrassing around other people. Please, just pretend this conversation never happened.
Fair enough, then let's collect some Codex entries and first talk about Asari culture.
I'd like to know more about the Asari.
We were the first species to discover the Citadel. We were instrumental in forming the Council, and we always strive to be the voice of peaceful cooperation in galactic disputes. My people believe we are all part of a single galactic community. Each species contributes something to the greater whole. Although we seek to understand other species, it seems few of them seek to understand us. The galaxy is filled with rumors and misinformation about my people.
And what kind of rumors would that be?
Like what?
Most of the inaccuracies are centered around our mating rituals. My species is monogendered. Male and female have no real meaning for us. We still require a partner to reproduce. This second parent, however, may be of any species and any gender.
And how does that work exactly?
I don't understand. Your species can mate with anyone?
Mating is not quite the proper term, not as you understand it. Physical contact may or may not be involved, but it is not an essential element of the union. The true connection is mental. Our physiology allows us to meld with other beings. We can touch the very depths of their minds. We explore the genetic memory of their species. We share the most basic elements of their individual and racial identities. We then pass these traits on to our daughters. It is how we learn to grow as a species and how we develop a greater understanding of other races.
And what exactly is the role of the other partner in this relationship?
What happens to your partner after the union?
Every relationship is different. Some unions are a single encounter with both parents parting ways afterwards. Others can be more long-term. Sometimes an Asari and her partner will stay together for many decades.
Don't you Asari get quite old? How does it work out when your partner is of another species?
You Asari live for 1,000 years. What happens when your partner dies?
Few sapient species live as long as my kind. We have learned to take a philosophical approach to our unions. We do not focus on the inevitable loss of our partners. Instead, we enjoy the time we spend with them. And even after they're gone, a part of them lives on in us. The union is a connection that transcends both time and space.
And yes, that's actually quite interesting. Did you know your father?
Do you know who Matriarch Benezia chose as her partner?
She rarely spoke of her partner. Though I know my father, if you want to use that term, was another Asari.
But you never got to know him, or at least heard a few stories?
Benezia never told you her partner's name?
Union with our own kind is no longer common, not for the purposes of reproduction. Most Asari believe it weakens our species. Asari daughters inherit racial traits from the father species. If both parents are Asari, then nothing has been gained, or so conventional wisdom would hold. I am what is sometimes called a pureblood. Though no Asari would ever be cruel enough to say the word to my face, it is a great insult among my people. It is possible Benezia's partner was embarrassed by their union. She may have been too ashamed to publicly acknowledge me as her offspring.
Well, you have no idea what her real reasons were, so not much use in guessing.
Maybe she wanted to meet you but couldn't. Something could have happened to her. Maybe she passed away.
You might be right. I hope you are. But I have no way to know for sure. Benezia never spoke of her partner. Whatever happened, it caused her too much pain to dwell on it. She raised me by herself, though that is not uncommon. Many Asari raise their children alone, particularly if the father species is short-lived. Often the partner will pass on long before the child reaches maturity.
Okay then, change of topics. After all, there is a reason we got you on board.
Do you know why Benezia joined up with Saren?
I don't understand it. She was always outspoken about the need for the Asari to become more involved in shaping galactic events. Maybe she thought allying herself with Saren would somehow be for the greater good in the long run. At least I hope so.
Sounds like you don't really believe that, do you?
This hurts you, doesn't it?
None of this makes any sense to me. I have not spoken to Benezia in many years, but I know her, and this was not like her. Something changed.
Alright, then I guess it's on us to find out what that was.
I should go.
Goodbye, Shepard.
Goodbye. Now, apart from a more detailed insight into what makes Liara tick, we also received 3 Codex entries. That also means that Liara won't be able to tell us anything new, so let's move on and chat to someone else, in this case, Kaidan.
Anything you need, Commander?
Well, first off, your thoughts on the mission would be appreciated.
What's your opinion on the last mission?
Dr. Tassoni. Seems like a sweet girl. Easy on the eyes. I mean, if you like the bookish sort.
Oh, Lieutenant, do I hear some interest?
Any intentions there, Lieutenant?
No, Commander. Just art appreciation.
Alright then, so tell us, how is the rest of the crew doing?
Just trying to get a sense of where the crew's at. Thoughts?
Is this an official evaluation, Commander? Or off the record?
Please feel free to speak your mind.
Alenko, when it's just you and me, you can consider it off the record.
That's a generous attitude. Okay. I think there's something wrong with all this. This Saren is looking for records on some kind of galactic extinction, but we can't get backup from the Council? Sorry, Commander. There's writing on the wall here, but someone isn't reading it.
Yes, I have the same feeling as well.
The Council doesn't want to believe anything's wrong. I'd call it human nature, but...
I hear you. It just seems like a group that's been around as long as the Council should see this coming. Sorry if I got too informal. Protocol wasn't a big focus back in Bot.
So what was the focus then?
Tell me about it.
Biotic acclimation and temperance didn't last past the airlock. To the kids they hauled in, it was brain camp. Sorry, hauled in is unkind. We were encouraged to commit to an evaluation of our abilities so an understanding of biotics could be compiled. There are worse results of accidental exposure to element 0 in the womb. Beats the brain tumors some kids grew up with.
You don't sound like you believe all those exposures happened purely on accident.
Is there some question about how you were exposed?
My mother was downwind of a transport crash. It was before there were human biotics, a little after the discovery of the Martian ruins. It only gets iffy around 63 when Kinetics was running out of first-gen subjects. Until then, they'd relied on accidentals. Bunch of guys in suits show up at your door after school, and next thing you know, you're out on Jump Zero.
Alright, possibility to grab a few more Codex entries here. First, let's ask about this Jump Zero.
Jump Zero is Gagarin Station, right? What's it like?
Yeah, that's the official name. Biggest and farthest facility we had for decades. Right on the termination shock, the outer edge of the solar system. It's where they did all the Goose Chase FTL research before we caught on to using mass effect fields. It was a sterile research platform when I was there.
Let's get back to the exposures for a second. Have there ever been intentional ones you know of?
You know of any intentional exposures for certain?
No one knows. Doesn't mean they didn't happen. As big as the exposures were, it was hard to track down accidentals. It was different then. No one knew the potential, so there wasn't a lot of regulation. Anything Kinetics did was gold. I'm not saying they intentionally detonated drives over our outposts, but in retrospect, they were damn quick on the scene.
And it sounds like you weren't the only one being trained. At least you had a bit of company then.
There were other kids in the same boat, right? At least you weren't alone out there.
That's true. We did have a little circle that'd get together every night before lights out. We didn't have much to do, though. It was a research platform then, and Kinetics kept Jump Zero off the extranet to prevent leaks.
That's a lot of time to get to know each other.
Then you must have had plenty of time to get to know each other.
Yeah, we'd sit around and bull every night after dinner, play cards or network games. There was this girl named Rana, who had a little circle grow up around her. She was from Turkey. Her family was very rich. But she was smart and charming as hell. Beautiful, but not stuck up about it. I think you'd have liked her.
Well, I think you liked her even more.
Sounds like she was special to you.
She was. Maybe she felt the same. But things never felt together. Training, you know.
Yeah, that does sound rough.
Jump Zero is a long way from home. What was it like?
The grand gateway to humanity looks a lot better in the vids. But that's my own baggage, Commander. no bearing on this.
Your baggage could very well end up being mine, so I guess talking doesn't do any harm.
Alenko, there's no regulation that says you can't be friends with your commander.
I appreciate that, Commander. I just don't want you to think that I'm a whiner. Besides, I've got my past squared away.
Alright then, hope it doesn't get in the way in the future. Nearby we can quickly grab a few nice items from Shepard's locker, then head in the back here. I wasn't quite sure whether or not there is a Codex entry here. Seems like there's not, so now that we have, well, cleared the second deck, we can go one level lower, where the majority of the crew hangs out. And before we start in the main area here, let's head into the back of the ship to the engine room, where we can find another Codex entry and an opportunity to talk to Tali.
Oh, hello, Shepard.
Well, you sound ecstatic.
Are you okay?
I don't know. Your ship is amazing, and your crew's been really great to me, especially your chief engineer. But I just sort of feel out of place. The Normandy runs so smooth it feels like we're not even moving, and the engines are so quiet. How do you sleep at night?
Let me get this right. It's quiet and therefore you cannot sleep.
The silence wakes you up?
Back on the flotilla, the last thing you want to hear is silence. It means an engine's died or an air filter shut down. I guess you don't have to worry about that here. But old habits die hard. But it's more than just the silence. This ship feels so empty. It's like half the crew is missing. Back home, I couldn't wait to go on my pilgrimage. I couldn't wait to get away from the crowds. Now that I'm out here, I kind of miss them.
Yeah, that sounds like textbook homesickness to me.
Sometimes we don't appreciate what we have until it's gone.
That's true. I'm starting to wonder if that's what the pilgrimage is really about. It's given me a whole new perspective on my people and our culture. You know, there's always a few who go on their pilgrimages and never return. I always assumed something bad happened to them, but maybe they just wanted a different life.
And what about you? Will you go back?
You do plan to return to the migrant fleet, right?
I could never abandon my people, Shepard. I will go back eventually, but we have to stop Saren first. Otherwise, I might not have a home to go back to.
Okay, as you might remember, we already talked to her about all those options, so it's time to leave again.
I should go.
See you later.
Now we can go back to where we came from, take the right door, and start the final round of conversations with Garris.
Commander, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Let's talk.
Why did you want to be a CSEC officer in the first place?
That's a good question. There were several reasons, I guess.
And those reasons were?
Like what?
Probably the same as most officers. I wanted to fight injustice, wanted to help people. I guess my father had something to do with it too. He was CSEC, one of the best. I grew up hearing about his accomplishments or seeing his picture on the vids after a big arrest. He's taking my resignation pretty hard.
Well, he must be a bit disappointed.
That's tough, but you'd think he'd be impressed you're going after Saren.
My father's a CSEC man to the bone. Do things right or don't do them at all, he says. He thinks I'm being too rash, too impatient. He's worried I'll become just like Saren. He actually talked me out of becoming a Spectre when I was younger, for the same reasons.
Oh, so you were a candidate once as well?
You were asked to be a Spectre?
Well, I was targeted as a possible Spectre candidate, me and about 1,000 other Turian military recruits. I could have received special training, but my father didn't like it. He despises the Spectres. He hates the idea of someone having unlimited power with no accountability. He wouldn't like you, Commander. No offense.
I think I can understand that.
I suppose I can understand his concern.
You can, but Saren's not going to play by our rules, CSEC's rules. If you want to nail Saren, you need to send someone who isn't restricted by policies and procedures.
Doesn't mean we have to sink to his level to catch him.
Just because you can break the rules doesn't mean you should. I don't need to stoop to Saren's level to stop him. And neither do you, Garris.
I see what you mean, but I'll think about it. Thanks, Commander.
Please do so. In the meantime, we celebrate 2 more Codex entries and move on to Ashley.
Commander, you have a minute to talk?
Yes, sure. What's up?
I keep an open door policy. If you have any concerns, lay them on me.
All right. I know things are different aboard the Normandy, but I'm concerned about the aliens, Vicarian and Rex. With all due respect, Commander, should they have full access to the ship?
Why shouldn't they? Because they're aliens?
You don't trust their motives because they're not human.
This is the most advanced ship in the Alliance Navy. I don't think we should give them free rein to poke around the vital systems. Engines, sensors, weapons.
You're walking a fine line here, Ashley.
You don't trust the Alliance's allies?
I'm not sure I'd call the Council races allies. We, humanity, have to learn to rely on ourselves.
Well, that might be true, but that doesn't mean we don't need allies.
Standing up for ourselves doesn't mean standing alone.
I don't think we should turn down allies. I just think we shouldn't bet everything on them staying allies. As noble as the Council members seem now, if their backs are against the wall, they'll abandon us.
That's quite a dark perspective on things, isn't it?
You've got a pessimistic view of the universe, Williams.
A pessimist is what an optimist calls a realist. Look, if you're fighting a bear and the only way for you to survive is to sick your dog on it and run, you'll do it. As much as you love your dog, it isn't human. It's not racism, not really. Members of their species will always be more important to them than humans are.
Some, interesting views you have there. Why do you believe that?
These seem like deeply held beliefs, Williams. What made you think this way?
My family's defended the Alliance since it was founded. My father, grandfather, great-grandmother, they all picked up a rifle and swore the oath of service. I guess we just tend to think of Earth's interests as our own.
Anybody in your family that we might have stumbled upon in the past?
I never knew my family. Grew up an orphan on Earth. Anybody in your family I'd have heard of?
Couldn't say, Commander. So why are you out here? Just trying to get away from Earth?
Well, for the most part, probably because we have some duties for the Alliance.
Mainly I wanted to serve. Protect the Alliance, save lives, you know.
Glad to hear it. I'd hate to think you were out here for a free college education.
And what about you? Sounds like you haven't seen much of the galaxy yourself.
It doesn't sound like you've worked with aliens before.
No, sir. Mainly I've been groundside, part of the surface garrison forces. I did get a rotation on a space station for training. Every Marine a rifleman, every rifleman ZG certified.
You've only been to space once? Well, that seems unusual for someone like you.
That's odd. Your record is spotless and your technical scores are exemplary. You should be serving with the fleet.
Anyway, that's why I haven't served with many aliens, Commander.
Well, that helps to clear things up. At least a bit.
All right. I can see where your concerns are coming from, Williams. But this is a multilateral mission. You're going to have to work with aliens, like it or not.
It won't be a problem, Commander. You say jump, I say how high. You tell me to kiss a Turian, I'll ask which cheek.
And no, we won't get suggestive here, no kissing necessary.
I don't think kissing Turians will be necessary.
You never know, Commander.
I think we should change topics, so how do you feel about the events on Therum?
What's your opinion on the last mission?
Not sure I buy Dr. Tassoni's story about her and her mom not talking. They're family, right?
Not all families are the same.
I think she's being straight with us. Or at least, I don't think she lies very often.
Yeah, she's probably really bad at it. Hey, want me to ask her about her sex life? Might be illuminating.
We have already teased her enough for today, I believe.
I don't think she's used to teasing. Good-natured or otherwise.
No fun, Commander. Too bad those ruins got destroyed. I mean, they lasted thousands of years. That's impressive.
Sure is. And we have to move on.
We'll talk later, Williams.
Looking forward to it, sir.
One more squad mate to talk to, and that would be Rex.
So, we've got Saren on the run.
You're damn right about that.
It won't be long now. Saren's good, but I'm better.
Good. He's rotten. to the core. I could tell as soon as I met him.
Wait a minute, you have already met him?
Why didn't you tell me this sooner?
I would've if I thought it was important.
Good point. Want to tell me the story anyway?
I think I'd like to hear about it just the same.
This was a while ago. A bunch of mercs were bragging about a job out near the edges of the Terminus systems. They said it paid well and the boss was never around to ride them. They said he was looking for more men, too. So I checked it out.
So he recruited people? That's interesting.
I didn't know Saren was openly recruiting mercs.
It wasn't that open, and he only showed his face once. We'd been raiding ships in the area for months when we took out this massive cargo freighter. Our biggest haul yet. I was on board checking bodies for valuables, looking for some extra credits. That's when I saw him.
And what did you see?
What did Saren want with the ship?
I don't know what he wanted. He was just moving through the ship, watching. Couple of the mercs called him by name, but he never spoke to them. Never spoke to anyone. I had a really bad feeling about him, so I got the hell out. Didn't even wait to get paid.
Maybe the ship was carrying something of value.
What kind of cargo was the freighter carrying? What was Saren after?
I don't know. All I saw on that ship was food and medical supplies. There were some basic weapons, but nothing big. If there was anything of value on that ship, I didn't see it. That's why I didn't mention it sooner.
Or maybe it was the ship itself he was after?
Whose ship was it?
There was a Volus trading vessel. Big one. Lots of guards. But they were no match for us.
So that's it? Didn't notice anything else?
That's the only time you saw him?
Yeah. Didn't even know who he was. Still wouldn't if I hadn't joined up with you. But my instincts were right. Every other merc on that mission turned up dead within a week. Every damn one.
Good on you for getting out of Dodge early, I guess.
So long, Rex.
Shepard.
Alright, the next bit will happen off-screen. I just equipped all the squad members with a few better weapons and armor, mainly those that we haven't used on Therum, so Liara, Garris, Caden and Ashley. I will get into detail about their equipment once we actually take them out on the mission. For now we have quite a bit of stuff to sell, mainly low-level upgrades and a lot of level 1 weaponry.
Looking for supplies?
Let's see what you've got.
You bet, Commander.
So I quickly made about 2,500 credits by selling some stuff, and I guess that marks a good point to make a cut. All conversations dealt with, inventory tidied up, I would say we're ready for some action in the next episode. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.